All right, hello. Hey, so we are with a special guest today. This is the CEO of Seeking Arrangements, Brandon Wade. Hey, Brandon, if you could say hi.
Hi, everyone.
Give yourself a quick introduction. This is the first episode of this new series podcast I'm launching.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I am Brandon Wade. I'm the founder and CEO. People know me as the founder and CEO of Seeking Arrangement, but I do a lot of other things as well.
Could you give us just a little background, I guess? How long have you been the CEO of Seeking?
I started the website back in 2006. As I was telling you earlier, I was living in San Francisco back then. And I was actually working on a separate business back in 2006. It was actually a duck tour out of the Fisherman's Wharf, and that business was sort of failing. So as I was thinking about what I would do next, I was looking at my chest of ideas, and Seeking Arrangement was one of those ideas, a domain that I actually purchased a few years before. And I thought, well, that's still a very good idea. So I locked myself in the bedroom and, in my one bedroom apartment in Russian Hill back in those days. And I programmed day and night, only stopping to sleep and to eat my meals. And within a month, I got the website built and launched.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because 2006, so that was, I guess, before like most apps. Was that before most dating websites? Like, okay.
Back then there were dating websites,
Okay.
but there was no app.
Oh, okay.
Apps came quite a few years later.
Okay. And are you talking about like Duck? Is that like the Ride the Ducks,
Yeah, it is. It was one of my friends was the guy who launched the one in Seattle. And I was actually up in Seattle a few weeks ago, and I realized they're no longer in business. They actually went bankrupt because of of a sinking that happened a few years ago, where some passengers had passed away. So I think they were sued, and they had shut down their operation out in Seattle.
Oh, shoot. I've been to the one in Seattle. That's not good.
I know.
Yeah, man, that's a cool business. That's too bad. I was thinking that it was probably shut down due to COVID, lack of business, but
No. Yeah, that was the reason.
That's not the reason. Could you maybe also just give us, I know your background, but like a quick background introduction, like where you're from, where you went to school?
I grew up in Singapore. I moved out to Boston when I was 19 to go to college. I went to MIT. I was originally studying physics, but I switched to electrical engineering halfway through. And then I continued in the master's program, in the business school. And once I graduated, I moved to New York City, worked there for a few years as a management consultant, and then upstate New York to work for GE, then back to Boston to start a business. And then I moved to Seattle after that to work for Microsoft for a little while. And then basically came to San Francisco, where I was working on quite a few startups, and eventually launched Seeking Arrangement.
Oh, okay, nice. Do you come from a background like where entrepreneurship is encouraged, I guess, from Singapore? Is that
No, actually, my dad was a 9 to 5. He worked as a manager for a corporation all his life. So I saw how hard he worked, right? And so when I went to MIT, that's where all the entrepreneurial activities was happening at MIT. I think the MIT sort of business school is very focused on entrepreneurship, and there's always this like almost envy, because we would look up, we'll look basically upstream, and that's Harvard upstream from us. And we were always joking that all the MIT engineers end up working for these Harvard founders or CEOs. So as part of that, there was a lot of encouragement on entrepreneurship. So and I participated in a lot of those activities. I took part in a number of the business plan competition. I was always involved in entrepreneur type activities over at MIT.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. So were your parents pretty supportive then of your?
They're actually involved in the business. My parents, my sister, everyone is involved in the business.
Oh, really? Okay. Very cool. How so?
Well, my sister runs the development office that is based in Singapore. So all the software development work that happens now happens in Singapore. And my parents are deeply involved in the website as well. Like my dad runs really the strategy and also a lot of the financial operations.
Oh, okay, very, very cool. Yeah, that's very interesting. So how'd you get the idea, I guess? We kind of went over this, but to start the website, did you get funding initially, or like, yeah, how'd
Yeah,
you
the funding actually came from my parents. So I was very
okay.
lucky to have very supportive parents. The idea came from my mom, but because I've always told the story. When I was younger, I was always very shy,
Uh-huh.
and I just never had a dating life. So my mom would see me struggle with that and tell me, focus on your school. One day you'll be successful. And then, all the women, according to her, really like men who are able to be providers. So
Uh-huh.
once you're able to be successful and you can provide, then you're going to have really a lot more choices when it comes to dating. And so it was her concept that I took into Seeking Arrangement. But when I launched Seeking, I was, still struggling with my dating life. That's
Uh-huh.
that's one of the things you learn over life is whatever you lack as a child, whether it is power or control, or you were made fun of in school and you feel powerless, or you just don't have a good dating life and you feel like there's a lack. That lack stays with you throughout your life, and it drives a lot of what your goals are.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. And you said your parents funded the business initially?
Yeah, the business didn't require too much money because, as I said, I locked myself in a bedroom to code. So at
Uh-huh.
the end of the day, what I really needed after coding it was just to make sure I was able to, rent or buy a server and
Uh-huh.
and host the website. So it didn't really require as much money as people might think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And you said you bought the domain name like
Correct.
for you. Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you hire employees?
Not until probably about a year into the business. So in the very first year, I was doing everything. I was coding, I was doing the customer support and all of that.
How did it gain traction in 2006?
I would say
How did you find people like word of mouth?
I did something that Airbnb did back in the early days. So how Airbnb got started was they would post a lot of ads on Craigslist,
Ah,
and so they were able to get lots of people to come and use the Airbnb website. So in the early days of 2006, I was doing exactly the same thing. I was posting onto Craigslist, and people would see, like there's this new website where you could find relationships, and people would come, and very quickly I was able to amass thousands of users, and then I was able to turn the website live.
okay. Were you focusing in one specific region on
I
Craigslist?
was actually focusing on mostly the major cities because
Okay.
that's where people congregate, right? So that's where you have population centers. So it's a lot easier when you focus on that.
Were these U.S. cities mostly?
Mostly US cities in the
Mostly
beginning,
US
yes.
cities. Oh, okay. How many cities did you?
Um, I would say I probably focused on at least a good 50 cities.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
but
geez.
but but the limitation was how many times I can post on Craigslist every single day and how many ads I could post. So
Uh,
there's certainly an algorithm you had to learn back in the old days. Like they would only allow somebody logging in to, from a specific IP address, the ability to post maybe 5 or 6 ads, and then after that they would shadow ban you. So the question is, how do you get around those rules?
oh, okay. Wait, so this was kind of like free advertisement then.
Oh, of course, yeah. So when you start off with nothing, you gotta learn how to market in guerrilla marketing style.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, that's super smart. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So
That's a
you
very
hustle your way somehow.
So how many users did you have by the first year at the
I
end?
would say within the first couple of weeks, I amassed roughly about 3,000 users. Then I turned the website on, and back in those days, we were acquiring maybe 500 users a day. It wasn't a lot. Nowadays, we're probably acquiring anywhere from 20 to 40,000 users a single day.
24. Dang, that's massive.
Yeah.
By the way, I realize we should probably just give like a quick rundown of what the website is. or do you
Well, I'll
want
tell you what the website was and what the website
to?
is
Okay.
now.
Okay.
So for a long time, we marketed ourselves as the sugar dating website. And so this is
Uh-huh.
where sugar daddies and sugar babies meet. But we
Uh-huh.
no longer use that. And in fact, we are in the process of really creating a new brand image for the brand. And there's a lot of good reasons why, because sugar daddies and sugar babies as terminologies have really become quite negative over the last um, few years.
Yeah, there's a stigma.
There is a stigma, and I blame it solely on social media, because I think a lot of people took it into their own hands to create content about what being a sugar baby or a sugar daddy mean.
Mm.
And so when you look at YouTube, you see all types of people talking about how they would go there to get guys to pay for stuff. And you look at TikTok, you see a lot of girls talking about what it means to be a sugar baby. And then, of course, you have escorts and prostitutes who then call themselves a sugar baby because they think, oh, that's the trending name, so I should call myself that. So
Mhm.
all of a sudden, it becomes very convoluted, and at the same time, the term became very corrupted. So we
Mhm.
definitely do not want to associate ourselves with the negative connotation of that.
Mhm.
Um, but what I do want is to tell people the website is really a place for you to date up. I mean, in life, the goal is to chase, higher, vibrating feelings, right? You want to do better. You want to feel more. So if you want to really do that, why not start loving yourself and consider dating up?
Mhm. No,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. Where do you think there, I guess, was the shift between I guess where you with social media, I guess? When was that, like 2012, 20?
The shift in terms of the view of what a sugar relationship is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would say quite a few years ago, as you recall, Backpage was shut down.
Mm.
And then there was just a lot of influx of escorts who now are looking for a place to advertise their service. So they started infiltrating everything from adult dating sites to, of course, even seeking arrangement. And we've had to really beef up the technology that we use here to weed out these escorts. But in the process, you know, they realized using seeking arrangement was tough, because we do have a lot of rules and software to police activity on the website. Many of them shift their activity over to social media, where, of course, social media companies are not going to monitor their platform the same way we do.
Do you guys have like a computer program, or do you like manually monitor?
I have a team of roughly 50 people in the Philippines who does moderation. I have another 20 people in the Ukraine who does that.
Oh,
So that's people, and then of course we have artificial intelligence type software that look at images and people's messages and derive meaning from that, and then based on that we monitor people using those technology as well.
oh, okay, okay, very interesting. Yeah, I didn't know, I guess, that back end was shut down, so that's interesting. Yeah, so
Backpage.
back hinge, okay. Wait, so how big is your team, I guess, in total? You said you have your family helping running the
Yeah,
business?
so I would say roughly about 30 people in Singapore, and then roughly about 50 to 60 people here in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay, nice. And then you
Yeah,
have, I guess, your external people in like the Philippines and the Ukraine.
correct. Those are outsourced functions.
Okay, what does your team do in Vegas exactly?
We do a lot of things. I mean, a lot of the marketing activities happen here. So the company based out in Vegas is run pretty much like a marketing agency.
Okay.
Yeah. So we not only do marketing for the dating brands, we also do marketing for other brands that I've also invested in over the years.
Oh, okay, nice. Well, I know you started a few other websites. Are those the brands you're talking about? Like, what's your price, Miss Travel, Open
Yeah,
Market?
those are the
Yeah.
dating brands, but what's upcoming is another website called gift.me, and that is where people can go and create a wish list, and then
Mhm.
they can share their wish list on their social media with anyone, with their fans or with their followers, and people can then buy you those gifts without you ever having to disclose your personal information. So people can
Mhm.
buy those gifts, and then those gifts will literally be shipped to wherever you specify without the person buying the gift for you needing to know what your contact information is, where you live, and that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. And that's an up and coming.
That is actually about to be launched in a few weeks. So what you might see on the website today might just be the beta version.
Okay.
But yes.
Okay, cool. And so how come you choose to use websites rather than apps for most?
Well, Seeking, as you know, because it used to be a sugar website,
Uh-huh.
both I would say Apple has a rule against sugar websites, and this happened roughly about 2 to 3 years ago, where they decided, we don't want any sugar daddy or sugar baby websites or apps on our app store. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's quite unfortunate, because Apple really shouldn't be playing, Big Brother, telling people what they should or should not do and who they should or should not date. But that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, no, I agree. Have you tried to speak to Apple directly and like
I've been in contact with them primarily because if you search the App Store today, you can find apps that are called Seeking Arrangement. And that's where I've been extremely unhappy. If you want to not allow the real Seeking Arrangement to be on the App Store, then please don't allow other apps that call themselves Seeking Arrangement to be on the App Store, because people get confused. And well, I'll tell you, I'm preparing a lawsuit, so if they don't basically play fairly in the marketplace, then very soon we're going to be suing Apple.
Oh, okay. Yeah, do you think that's just because you're basically the biggest?
I think because, yeah, we are the biggest, the most well-known, so it's easy just to take action on the most well-known, and then let every other people just compete. So yeah.
So do you okay, so what do you currently do, I guess, for marketing to drive people to your website? Like do you
Lots of different things. Yeah, I mean, we advertise on Google AdWords. We pay affiliates to market for us. Of course, we have the usual PR. We still get covered on social media, and also on sometimes on newspapers, online magazines, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Are there any restrictions, I guess? Because there's like, like a slight stigma.
There are some restrictions. Certain places have restrictions. They don't allow, as I said, they don't allow sugar apps or sugar websites for
Like Apple.
advertising. But the fortunate thing is, because Seeking Arrangement is so big right now, and it's been sort of in the news for so many years, it's really become pretty well known. Yeah. So we're fortunate in the sense that we don't have to spend as much money advertising as most other dating websites do.
Do you get recognized in public?
I used to be, when I was on TV more often, but for the last 6-7 years, I've not been really doing much in terms of publicity or interviews publicly.
Is that a conscious effort?
It is a conscious effort, because the website has a life of its own, and also we were more interested towards the end to feature members and their success stories. So it's not just me out there saying, oh my goodness, this is just such a great website. We want our own members to be out there talking about the kind of successful experiences they've had. Yeah.
Do you normally like pay people, I guess, to do that, to talk about that, or like is that something
we don't pay people, but I think what we do is we pay people to fly over, or we pay for their flights and that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because a lot of television programs specifically, or producers, would not want you to pay someone to speak, because then there's an incentive for them to say something good. So most of the time, the people who do interviews are doing it because they are giving their honest opinion.
Okay. Okay, cool. Can I ask you about, I guess, your how you guys basically make money off the website?
It's very simple. Most of the girls use it for free. They can pay to upgrade and get some extra features, but then we make the men pay, because the successful guys are supposed to have money. So if you are a successful member, then you have to pay roughly about $100 a month to communicate with the other members.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Wait, and you said you're currently getting between 30 to 40,000 users a day?
Yep.
onto your website? Oh, okay. What's the breakdown between babies versus daddies? Or
I would say the women, there's clearly more females join. Roughly about 70-80% of the signups are females, and then roughly about 20 to 30% are men.
okay.
But the men tend to stay longer than the women do.
Oh, okay. What's the average time that most people stay?
I would say for a lot of the successful guys, they use the website more or less as almost like a lifestyle, right? And
Mm,
there's also a sense of like this fear of losing out. So if they're not sort of having a membership and constantly paying, then
uh-huh.
they're going to miss out on that whatever they the love of their life or the next amazing adventure that they might miss out on. So I think a lot of guys end up staying on the website longer because of that reason.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Can you also, do you guys have a, I guess, a place for sugar mamas and then
Yes.
sugar, yeah.
Yes. So that's what we would call the successful women. We do have
Okay.
a section for successful women, and they are successful women looking to meet sort of younger, attractive guys.
And do you also have like for gay or queer or whatever?
Yes, you can specify your gender, and then you can specify what you're interested in finding. So you're
Okay.
interested in other women or other men or both.
So was that implemented? I guess I feel like, that's like gender fluidity, like that's like relatively like, like newer, like last like 5, 10 years. Was that something that you initially had when you
Yeah,
started
we
the
just
website?
we just we didn't want to limit people to a specific type of whatever their preferences are. We want to keep it as open as possible.
Okay. Cool, cool. So I guess what do you think the website's empowering for both I guess all users or like, yeah, what are your overall
I think I would say the website is a place to really learn lessons. Um, that's the way I've used it anyways. I found that in most of the relationships I've been in through the website, both parties are equally empowered, right? For
Mhm.
me, it's like I'm empowered because now I can, even though I'm busy and I don't have time, the website is a great place for me to meet like really amazing people, to have
Mm,
to see this there's a potential for chemistry and relationship. So in that sense, it's really empowering for me because before the website, I was shy and I was lonely, and normal dating websites just don't work for me. And
mhm,
for a lot of the women, I feel that it's also very empowering because a lot of girls don't have the opportunity to meet successful people. So the website presents an opportunity for them to date up.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. And you were the first of your kind, right? There was no other.
There was actually a lot of other sort of similar websites in those days, but they used to call themselves sugar baby this or sugar daddy that, sugardaddy.com, sugardaddymeet.com,
Mhm.
sugardaddyforme.com, a lot of those kinds of websites.
So why do you think you were better than they were? Or like why?
Well, for one thing, we don't call ourselves a sugar dot whatever this or dot that, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I think we want to present ourselves as a little bit more classy. And then of course we did marketing much more differently than they did.
Uh-huh.
Most of the other websites, there's no founder who's putting himself or herself out there to talk about this lifestyle. And
Mhm.
whereas I live it, I embody it, so I'm actually fine being on TV, arguing, defending it, and making a case for why this form of dating makes sense.
Do you ever get like shy or embarrassed or like feel like, like are people ever kind of like mean or rude to you and you're like,
I am shy when it comes to one-on-one type communication. Like if I was in a bar or if I was in a nightclub and there was a pretty girl and I had to walk up to her, I probably would be shy.
uh-huh.
But one of the things my dad taught me very well when I was growing up was public speaking. He would take me and my sister out to a Toastmasters club, and we would, every week have to write a speech and go up in front of, 20 or 30 people and deliver a speech. So that's one of those things that I'm not shy about. I have no problem being on television or being on stage or being in front of thousands of people to speak.
Mm-hmm. I guess I mean also though, like if people are kind of negative, I'm sure you have some people who are not the nicest, like
Oh, you mean
I've heard
the critics?
yeah, the critics.
There
Yeah.
are always critics wherever you are. I think
Yeah.
as long as you know that what you're doing it from, a place of good intention, then
Uh-huh.
that's all that matters, right? Because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, anybody can always say something is not good or something is not right.
Uh-huh.
And the way I see it is the negativity comes from their own set of issues or insecurities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're pretty good at not letting the critics get to you.
No, I mean I've had feminist groups who say, wow, this website is terrible. You're telling women that they should depend on men, and how is that okay? And this is degrading to women. And but at the same time, it is super empowering for a lot of women. I mean, if I talk to the members of the website, many will say, wow, the website, they would thank me for the website and say that the website actually empowers them to date in a way in a way that they normally might not date. Like they may not be interested, or they may not have the opportunity to date a successful maybe an older guy, whereas now the platform makes it so easy for them to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's kind of anti-feminist to tell other women how they should or should not be
Yeah,
operating.
so there's always two ways to look at it. I think the people who have issues with it, maybe they really hate men. I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea what kind of trauma they went through in during their early days that led them to their belief system. So
Is that your main group of critics, I guess, feminists?
no, I mean, I think there are also conservative organizations, the ones who want
Mhm.
to get rid of porn and adult work and that kind of stuff. They are sort of creeping in and criticizing the website as well.
Oh,
But,
okay.
I say the same thing, stop your paternalistic, sort of agenda telling women what they should or should not do. These are the same people who are banning abortions all across the state, right? In various
Mm,
states. And I strongly stand in favor of pro-choice.
mhm. Yeah, I think I saw a news article that you said you'd be willing to pay for abortions or something.
Yeah, we were doing that back a couple of years ago when Alabama announced that they were going to pass a law banning abortion, and I was dating a girl back then from Alabama, and she was really adamant that we do something about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous. Wait, so how come kind of to change subjects, but how come you decided to make multiple websites like Seeking Arrangement? What's your price? Like, how come you like keep on going and like don't just focus on one?
Yeah, well, because different people want different things, and so it's sort of important to understand, like, from a business standpoint, like what the niches are, right? And
Mhm.
if there's an opportunity in this space and there's a specific niche, then create a website to
Mm.
satisfy that need. Because if you don't create that, somebody else will come in and create that.
How are you seeing these niches though? Is it through like Seeking Arrangement that you're able to see like these other niches are out there or like
I think the moment we have a platform and we have a community, then we are able to survey the community and ask people what they want. And then
mm,
once we saw, wow, a huge percentage of people actually like to travel and they want to find somebody to travel with, then, well, that became an idea, Miss Travel.
mm,
Or a lot of people like to go out for a date, but many of the women feel that giving a guy a chance, to go on a date is really cost prohibitive, right? Like they have to take time off work, they might need to get a babysitter if they have a kid, they need to take an Uber to the restaurant. So there's costs associated with it. So What's Your
mm,
Price was kind of born
mhm.
because we wanted to create a platform where women don't have to, going on a date shouldn't be a costly proposition, right? It should be cost neutral.
Mm, mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but how come you don't just want to make this like a feature to
Because the more complicated your website becomes or your app becomes, then the less people are going to like to use it.
uh
Yeah, you see some of the most successful, restaurants or fast food restaurants have very limited menu. Think of
mm,
In-N-Out. I mean, how many items do you have?
Yeah, like
on their
three,
menu, right?
four,
You just
five.
keep it as simple as possible. And that's why they are so popular, because simplicity, there's a draw to simplicity.
Oh,
So every time we want to add a new feature, we got to ask ourselves, well, how many people are really going to be using that feature? So we might introduce that new feature, and if not too many people use it, then we would have to we would probably sunset the feature, because it costs a lot of effort to maintain every feature that you build, because
mm,
the website becomes more complicated. You have a limited amount of real estate on your screen, and so
uh-huh.
all of those things matter.
Okay, yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Do you have a different team for the different websites, or are you guys
Yeah,
all?
there's always different teams working on different elements.
Oh,
But
okay.
then there's shared components, like obviously the chat feature, that's the same across all the board, every single site, or the profile feature, things that every site has have in common. We build it into a library system so it can be reused over and over again.
Oh, okay. Okay, so going back to seeking arrangement, so how do you make sure that people both parties aren't scammers on the website?
Lots of different ways. I mean, we let people report each other.
Mm.
And now, since COVID had been started, we'd actually implemented an anti-scamming software, and that has already taken out probably 95% of the fraud.
Oh, really? Wow. Did that, what was that like building an anti-scammer software?
We actually used the third-party software tool, so
Oh,
we didn't build it. We actually just bought it.
oh, okay. Was that, I guess was business booming during COVID? You guys were probably, right?
First 2 months was terrible. I think most businesses suffered because people were like, "What the hell is happening to the world?"
Mhm.
Right? So they were busy trying to deal with that. But then once they've found themselves locked in their homes for 2 months, they finally decided, okay, I can't take this loneliness anymore. I want to go out there and start meeting people.
Uh-huh.
So at first they were not meeting in real life, but they were certainly online meeting each other.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you guys implement any features for COVID? Like, yeah.
Yeah, we have the video chat feature that is a part of the COVID launch. So
Uh-huh.
people can actually call each other and video chat directly on the app or the website without having to give each other's phone number out. So that's
Uh-huh.
again another safety feature that we provide users.
Which was unique to just COVID.
I would say that is unique, but after COVID, we've actually left that feature on, so people are still able to video chat directly from the app.
I mean, I think that's a pretty cool feature. I like it. It's like
Yeah.
very, yeah, very useful to be able to just see right off the bat what's
Are
in.
you on the website?
Maybe.
Okay. Secret.
Secret. But yeah, wait, so are you on the website?
I do have a profile on the website. Yeah,
Um, well, kind of backtracking, but I think I saw also you said I think I saw you say that love is a concept invented by poor people.
that was back in 2014, and I will respectfully say that I was wrong.
Yeah, because I think I've seen on your Instagram you seem like you're very in love.
Oh yeah, I mean, love is everything. Love is what created this simulated reality that we live in today.
Yeah, okay,
So
so you retract that statement. So
I wouldn't retract it. I would simply say that along the way on my journey,
mm,
I did question, the love, because the kind of love that I've experienced, at least romantic love until that point in my life, had always felt like the most intense during the infatuation phase. And
mm,
every relationship after a couple of years, you just don't feel the same way anymore, because infatuation isn't love. And so I came to the concept that, I think people like to say, well, I am so in love with you, but that's more like I'm actually very infatuated with you. And
mm,
infatuation is really a state of almost craziness, right? Like you've gone crazy. Yeah.
mm,
But love is beyond that. I think most people don't really even understand love. Yet love is everything that is the feeling that every one of us want at the end of the day. But
mm,
we mistake love. We mistake it for love is the problem. I mean, when I look at addicts, whether they're addicted to heroin or gambling or whatever things they're addicted to, I think it's because they're chasing a feeling, and they
mm,
think that feeling is what's going to make them happy.
mm.
right? For the gambler, it's chasing the feeling of winning. When you win, you feel like, man, I'm so lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you keep chasing that feeling, and the more you chase, then the more you lose, and then you want to chase that feeling more and more and more. So you become addicted to that chase. But
Mm-hmm.
little do you know that you're actually not very lucky when you chase that feeling. You know, in fact, if you truly love yourself, you wouldn't do that. But see, people don't understand that. They are misguided. They think that the feeling of being lucky, meaning the universe must love me because I'm winning,
Mm-hmm.
um, is what they want.
Mm.
Yet by focusing on that, they're going deeper and deeper into the addiction, which is the opposite of what they should be actually chasing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Dang. That's an interesting perspective. Okay, so now you'd say you are in love though. Now you'd say
I would say I completely understand love today. And I also understand
romantic
that it
love.
is not possible for you to go out there and love other people until you've figured out how to love yourself. And I
Mm.
mean, truly love yourself.
What was I even mean though? Like truly love you.
Oh,
How do you?
hell. A lot of people out there don't even understand what that means. What
Mm.
does it mean to truly love yourself? Well,
Okay.
I think a lot of us are unaware of the things we do that keep us in a loop, right? Doing things over and over again that make us unhappy, but yet we continue to do it. An
Mm.
example would be people in a relationship, in an abusive relationship, right? They think that that is love, yet they're abused. And every time they're abused, they think, oh, well, if I was behaving better, then my boyfriend wouldn't abuse me. I would make him happy. So,
Mm.
but that's not love, right? That's your own unworthiness, your own insecurity that's keeping you in that relationship that is highly toxic. So if you truly love yourself, you will look inwards and ask yourself, well, why do I continue in this toxic relationship?
Mm.
Um, and if you truly love yourself, then you will want to stop.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, but I also feel like you could be so blinded by, whatever toxic relationship.
So the state of blindedness is what I call being asleep.
Mm.
Because once you are awakened, then you would never want to do that again. Because once you know, you can never unknow. Right?
Mm.
Once you know something, then you can never unknow it again. So that's the process of what I call spiritual awakening.
Mm.
And people who are deeply unhappy ought to start looking inwards and ask themselves, why is it they continue to repeat the same cycle over and over and over again? And if they truly love themselves, would they actually let themselves continue to repeat those sort of very negative toxic cycles?
Mm. Spiritual awakening. Is that just like something you can come to, I guess, by yourself, like a spiritual awakening, or like, do you think?
I think the only way to reach an awakening by yourself is when you have hit rock bottom, right?
Mm.
I think when you are so unhappy in a situation, so unhappy to a point that you realize, God, if I don't change, you
Mm.
know, I'm screwed. I'm in trouble.
Mm.
Um, and
Mm.
that's why a lot of addicts end up, really at a point where they have reached rock bottom, and only then will they be willing to turn their life around again. That said, I don't think that that's a necessary thing, because to find the answers is actually not easy. There are a lot of self-help books out there that help people, I think, but I don't think they do a very good job in teaching people, how they can truly find happiness. In
Mm.
my case, I learned it because I'm on a search, right? I was searching for success when I was at MIT. All I wanted to do was to be a millionaire. And then I
Mm.
also wanted to date beautiful women because I lacked that when I was a child, when I was a
Mm.
teenager. So those things that I thought would make me happy, money and beautiful women, were the things I was chasing for. And I became very successful. I started, I launched Seeking, and I became wildly rich, and I could date all the beautiful women I want. But yet I still realized I was not happy in the process.
Mm,
So at that point, it made me question a lot of things,
mm,
particularly, well, what actually makes me happy, and what's the purpose of my life? So
mm,
those are very deep questions that, fortunately for me, during COVID, I had time to go and meditate and try and look inwards for those answers.
mm.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you found them then, I guess?
Oh yeah, I found them.
Oh,
I found them.
that's
And I've
good.
gone beyond finding them. I think I'm now in the process of actually building a framework where I can explain to people how they can look at their lives. And I could probably at some point in the future, explain to people what is the purpose of their life.
Mm. Is that something that you want to do next? Is like a potential next business, maybe?
I think so. I don't think it's a business. I think it's more like a public service that I want to do for people.
Probably.
But if you look at seeking.com as a website, it is transforming. As I said, the website is only going to embody positivity moving forward. We're going to be talking about how, if you love yourself, why wouldn't you just date up? Why would you want to continue to date down? Who the hell wants to date down? If I asked you, would you want to date down?
No, I mean definitely.
Yes,
Yeah, I
no,
know.
right? Absolutely not.
I think it's human nature to want to.
Well, you want to improve, right? You want to
Yeah.
improve. You want to always do better, right? You want to always be happier.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So that's the positive attitude, right? I mean, everybody should embody the positive attitude, because it is so easy to let negativity take hold.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Well, I have to ask, have you had any bad experiences personally using your website?
Of
Not,
course, who hasn't?
yeah. What was the worst experience you had?
Um, there are tons of experiences. I mean, I've had people threaten me with my life, because they were booted off the site. I have I have met girls who clearly was not interested in getting to know me. They just wanted, the money, or they just wanted to be spoiled.
How'd
Um,
you know that, or how were you? Yeah.
you learn that over time. You learn that from every single interaction. You learn a lesson. And that's why I say that the journey is actually a very spiritual one. I mean, if I never met those girls, then I probably would not have learned those lessons. And then I probably wouldn't be asking the questions I asked later on in my life to reach the conclusion of what really makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how'd you deal with people threatening your life? Like, how'd you know that the threats were, I guess, like not?
I am not exactly too afraid of that, you know. I
Hmm.
think I think yeah, I mean, people threaten me, but it comes with the terrain.
Mm,
I think it's more like they just want to let their anger out because they were booted off the website. And so
mm.
they needed to threaten me. But I'm never afraid of threats.
Really? Because that sounds pretty scary to me. I'd be kind of afraid, like I'd be kind of watching my back. Like, do you ever feel like afraid?
Yeah, but if you're gonna murder someone or kill someone over being booted off a website, I think that's pretty extreme. I think it's more like in the moment anger versus actually taking action.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha. I feel like also you're not super like on the website, like you're not super obviously like the CEO, like you have different pictures of people, like you do they I guess they just do their due diligence and
What do you mean? What do you mean by?
or like yeah, why are they going after you necessarily, right? Like,
Oh, because in the early days I was very involved with the website, right?
oh,
So
okay.
so a lot of times I would speak to the members. We used to throw seeking parties all the time in major cities, and I would show up and I would meet people. So
Oh, really? What were those parties like?
it was amazing. I mean, we had summits. We had lecturers and presenters and people coming to teach the women of the website, all kinds of stuff, how to dress better, how to date better, how to manage your money better, those kinds of stuff.
How would you find these people to?
There are tons of people in the community. So we simply asked our members, who's an expert in this area, who's willing to come and speak. And then lots of people showed up.
Oh, cool. That's very cool. And you stopped having these, I guess?
Yeah, well, after COVID, a lot of things stopped.
Mhm.
Yeah, but maybe over time we will relaunch it, but most likely in a different format and in a different way.
Because of COVID or just like,
I think the world has changed. I think, as I said, I don't even like to use the term sugar daddy and sugar babies anymore, even sugar
uh,
mummies, right? So
uh,
like, even the way we present the website and the way we are going to be talking about this lifestyle is also going to be quite different.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. It just seems like it's kind of a hard, like, yeah, like image to change, I guess. It sounds like.
Yeah, nothing is ever easy, but if it's easy, then it wouldn't be fun. So we shall see. By the first of next year, you will see a brand new sort of a rendition of the website, and that's my vision coming into being. So we shall see. It's going to be quite interactive in nature. So
All right, well, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
yeah,
All right, well, thank you for speaking to me.
you are most welcome.
I appreciate it for our first episode. You were a great first guest.
I'm the first episode. Wow.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I hope your podcast become wildly successful.
Thank you. Likewise. No, I really appreciate it. Yeah, you're very, very intelligent, full of lots of knowledge.
Thank you, and you are very intelligent too, asking all the right questions.
All right. Well, thank you. Have a nice night.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Tatiana.
you meeting. All right. Bye.
Bye bye.